I did not write a sermon for this evening. And I know in your bulletin it says right there, sermon, Melissa Pache. But that's because 2 weeks ago when I submitted my sermon title, I thought I knew what I was going to be doing tonight. I thought I knew what I was going to be talking about. But that's the problem, is that I thought I knew. I hadn't considered what maybe God thought about it. I didn't consider how God might move me and move in me and move with me. So foolishly, I submitted my sermon title and thought that I had it in the bag. So instead of giving you a sermon this evening, I'm going to tell you a story about why I don't have a sermon for you this evening. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that's important and what it has to do with the body and with sexuality and spirituality. So a few months ago, I participated in MCC's online symposium called Re-Engaging Sex, I think it was. And it was about it's called Sex and the Spirit, Re-Engaging Sexuality and Spirituality. And it was a 3-day conference. It all happened online. We met online for 3 days. People from all over the world were there. And we talked about some important issues about sexuality and spirituality, things that I had not even considered before. We really got deep in. We talked about it. And we talked about where MCC has been, where MCC is, and where MCC is going. And MCC was founded at the intersection of sexuality, spirituality, and justice. So this is something we like to talk about. And I got really excited during this conference, and I thought, yeah, we need to be doing more of this. This is the stuff I love, and this is who we are. This is who MCC is. And I talked to another student clergy who was also participating, and we said, let's put together like a whole series that we could maybe do in different places, and we'll do some reading and some writing, we'll write some prayers, we'll talk to people, we'll put together a series where we can preach and lead some discussions, and we thought that would be really exciting. And so we had this idea and thought that this could be something that would maybe be recreated with time. And I talked to Paul at the beginning, and I said, I want to do this thing. You think maybe MCC Boston might be interested? And he said it would probably be okay if I wanted to preach a few weeks in a row. So I just thought, I took it and I ran. So thank you all for being here with me in this. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about this series and thinking about sexuality and spirituality and why those things are so important and how they come together. And I spent time thinking about what are the themes that might need to be addressed. What are some of the really big issues? So this series is going to be 4 weeks long. What do I want to talk about? And then I was getting prepared, so I laid out the 4 areas of interest that I thought folks might be interested in hearing about and talking about. And I started thinking about this particular sermon a couple of weeks ago, and I got really excited. This is the stuff that I love, sexuality and spirituality. Like, yes, this is my jam. So I felt like I was ready. And a couple of weeks ago, I started writing, which, for those of you who don't know me very well, starting 2 weeks ahead of time to get something done is unheard of. I like to wait until the last possible second to do anything. So that was pretty big for me. But I started working on it a couple of weeks ago, and I started putting some stuff down on paper, and it was terrible. And so over the past week, I've been working on it, and it wasn't coming together for me. I couldn't get it out. I couldn't get it on the paper, and I was really struggling. I couldn't do it. And part of why I was struggling so much is that I struggle with chronic depression, and this last week has been very difficult for me. And that depression manifests itself in many different ways, and sometimes what it means is that it takes all of my creative energy and just keeps it for itself, doesn't share any of it with me, and it makes it impossible to get simple tasks done, let alone something like a sermon. And friends, I'm telling you this today not because I need anything. I'm okay. I will be okay. I'm telling you, well, first to let you know why I didn't write anything, because that's probably helpful to know. And also because it's important about what it says about my body. And I'm going to share a little bit about what happened and what happened with my body and what happened in this experience and how I encountered God in that moment. So I spent the last week trying to write this. Nothing was working. and yesterday I was really struggling, and I was putting words down, but it wasn't making sense. It wasn't coming together. And I noticed how much I was struggling, and I know from past experience that sometimes when I'm in those really difficult spaces, when I'm so in my mind and I can't get out of it and I can't get out of myself, the best thing I can do is move my body. Even though it's the last thing I want to do, right? When I'm feeling like that, I want to get in bed, I want to pull the covers over my face, and I don't do anything. But those times when I'm saying, no, God, leave me alone, those are the times that I need to get up and I need to get moving. I need to get out of my mind and into my body. And a friend had invited me to go dancing last night, and I said, there's no way. I have like a half sermon, I can't get these words out, I don't want to, there's no part of this that sounds like it's a good idea, I'm gonna stay home. And but the more I started to think about it, and the more my sermon wasn't happening, I realized that maybe I need to go. So I finally got something that was of sermon length into my computer. It was the full, the length of a sermon, so maybe it would work okay. And I asked my partner, Jillian, if maybe could you read this and see, is it good enough where I can take a break and go out dancing, because I feel like I really need to get moving. So, as she frequently does, she read it for me, and she was very gracious with her response and was very polite. But what I heard under all of that niceness was no. No ma'am. This is not gonna work. This is not even a thing. She didn't even know what the sermon was supposed to be about. And she said, but you need to go. This isn't gonna work, but you need to go anyway. You need to leave the house. You need to go out dancing. So I pulled myself off the couch and took a shower, put on real pants for the first time in a couple of days, dragged myself over to Cambridge, and I went out dancing, quite reluctantly, first moving my body, forcing it to move. But over time, I got more and more out of my mind and more into my body, and I let my body move, and I let it feel. I let it feel whatever it was going to feel, and it felt sad, and it felt angry, and it felt nothing, and it felt joy, and it felt content, and I was with other people who were fully in their bodies, allowing their bodies to move however they were going to move without thinking about anything, and just letting the Spirit move through and in me and through those around me. And after a short time of dancing, feeling a little bit better, I left the club with my head held high, strutting down the street. And I had a chat with God, and I said, God, listen, this sermon is rough. It is rough. It was the first time that I'd actually stopped to maybe have a talk with God and ask for some help and say, what am I supposed to do? What do I do? And so I wasn't feeling awesome, but I was feeling much better, and I finally was able to get the words out, and God made it clear what it was that I ought to bring to you folks. And so I was able to write a little bit of something by the sheer grace of God. I was able to put a little bit of something down on paper that I have for you. It is short. It's not much, but it's all that I have. I talked to God about what is it that folks need to hear? What is it? What is the message that I'm to bring? What is it that needs to be heard most? And it's that your body is good. Your body is a gift from God, and it is good. What you do with your body is good. And that doesn't mean that everything we do with our bodies is good, because we're human and we're imperfect, but our bodies are good. What I felt led to talk about today is the relationship between sexuality and spirituality, why it's important for us to talk about as people of faith and as an MCC congregation. MCC that was founded at the intersection of sexuality, spirituality, and justice. Many Christian communities often separate sex and the spirit, going to great lengths to divide them. They often call sex private, and even something that is shameful, forgetting how intricately entwined sexuality and spirituality really are. Spirituality can be defined in many ways. For many people, in many respects, spirituality is about a desire to know and be known by God. Author Deborah Hirsch asserts that spirituality is a longing to know and to be known by God on a physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual level. Similarly, sexuality is about our desire to know and to be known by others. So collectively, sexuality and spirituality is about our desire to know others, to know ourselves, and to know God. As humans, we desire relationship. Relationship with one another and relationship with the divine. This relationship is created not just through mind, but through body as well. I cannot come to know God or others if I seek only with my mind and with my heart. I must also engage my body. I must use the gift that I have been given, explore it, share it, and know it. Know my desires, know my passions. Exploring my sexuality with others allows a mutual knowing, as well as an encounter with the divine. Because it is in relationships with one another that we best come to know God. We come to know God when we seek God, as we come to know others when we seek others. We come to be known by God and by others when we build relationships. At the core of our sexuality and our spirituality is our fully human desire to connect and to be known. I cannot explore my spirituality or my relationships with the divine without including my body, its needs and its desires. Using my body is the only thing that got me here today. Abandoning my negative thoughts, pulling myself into my body, allowing it to dance, moving it without reservation is what brought me here. It was when I fully experienced my own body, in the company of others, fully experiencing their own bodies, that I was able to push through that darkness and grasp just a hint of the light that I needed to put words on paper. By grace and my body alone am I here today. While I do not enjoy the depression that sometimes grips me, I am thankful for the way that my body can keep me from sinking further. When I used my body and allowed God in, God helped me to know myself. I had to allow my body to do that work. As we allow God to work in and through us, we come to know ourselves, to know others, and to intimately know God. This work can be done only when we engage our whole selves and allow the creative process of the divine to work through us. This creative process comes to life as we explore together our sexuality and spirituality, our spirits, our bodies, our desires. Engaging sex and the spirit allows us to fully experience our humanness and that of others, so that we may come to know God in mind, body, and spirit. Let the people say, amen.